Hello guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of Creepypastas / Haunted Gaming. Why? We're doing two creepypastas in one episode again. This creepypasta is Suicidemouse.avi. It's a lost episode creepypasta similar to Dead Bart and Squidward Suicide, and apparently is widely seen as the forefather of the entire lost episode genre. So let's see if this creepypasta is good or not. It's very well requested, so we'll actually get to see what it's like this time. I'm also going to be doing the Suicide Mouse game creepypasta as well. It's short as well, but we'll do both in one. So with that being said, let's begin first with Suicidemouse.avi. So do any of you remember those Mickey Mouse cartoons from the 1930s? The ones that were just put out on DVD a few years ago? Well, I hear there is one that was unreleased to even the most avid classic Disney fans. See, according to sources, it's nothing special though. It's just a continuous loop, like the Flintstones, of Mickey walking past 6 buildings that goes on for 2 or 3 minutes before fading out. Unlike the cutesy tunes put in though, the song on this cartoon wasn't a song at all. Just a constant banging on the pianos of the keys for a minute and a half before going to white noise for the remainder of the film. It wasn't the jolly old Mickey we've come to love either. Mickey wasn't dancing or even smiling, just kind of walking as if you and I were walking, with the normal facial expression, but for some reason his head tilted side to side, as he kept this dismal look. Up until a year or two ago, everyone believed that after it cut to black, that was it. When Leonard Maltin was reviewing the cartoon to be put into the complete series, he decided it was too junk to be on the DVD, but wanted to have a digital copy due to the fact that it was a creation of Walt. When he had a digitized version up on his computer to look at the file, he noticed something. The cartoon was actually 9 minutes and 4 seconds long. This is what my source emailed to me in full. He is a personal assistant of one of the higher executives at Disney and an acquaintance of Mr. Maltin himself. After it cut to black, it stayed like that until the 6th minute, before going back to Mickey walking. The sound was different this time. It was a murmur, it wasn't a language, but more of a gurgled cry. As the noise got more indistinguishable and loud over the next minute, the picture began to get weird. The sidewalk started to go in directions that seemed impossible based on the physics of Mickey's walking, and the dismal face of the mouse was slowly curling into a smile. On the 7th minute, the murmur turned into a blood-curdling scream, the kind of scream painful to hear, and the picture was getting more obscure. Colors were happening that shouldn't have been possible at the time. Mickey's face began to fall apart, his eyes rolled to the bottom of his chin, like 2 marbles in a fishbowl, and his curled smile was pointing upwards to the left side of his face. The buildings became rubble floating in midair, and the sidewalk was still impossibly navigating in warped directions, a few seeming inconceivable with what we as humans know about direction. Mr. Maltin got disturbed and left the room, sending an employee to finish the video and take notes of everything happening up until the last second, and afterward immediately stored the disc into the cartoon into the vault. A distorted screaming lasted until 8 minutes and a few seconds in, and then it abruptly cuts to the Mickey Mouse face of the credits at the end of every video with what sounded like a broken music box playing in the background. This happened for about 30 seconds, and whatever was in that remaining 30 seconds I haven't been able to get a sliver of information about. From a security guard working under me, who was making rounds outside of that room, I was told that after the last frame, the employee stumbled out of the room with pale skin saying "real suffering is not known" 7 times, before speedily taking the guard's pistol and offing himself on the spot. The thing I could get out of Leonard Maltin was that, on the last frame, was a piece of Russian text that roughly said, "The sights of hell bring its viewers back in. As far as I know, no one else has seen it, but there have been dozens of attempts of getting this file on rapid share by employees inside the studios, all of whom have been promptly terminated of their jobs. Whether it got online or not is up for debate, but if rumors serve me right, it's online somewhere under Suicidemouse.avi. If you ever find a copy of the film, I want you to never view it, and to contact me by phone immediately, regardless of the time. When a Disney death is covered up as well as this, it means that there has to be something huge. Get back at me. TR." I've yet to find a copy of this, but it is out there. I know it. Sometime in late 2012, I was watching some Suicidemouse.avi footage on YouTube when I came across an interesting comment. It talked about a game based off Suicide Mouse, and gave me a URL. I went to the URL and redirected me to a file sharing site, 2Shared. And sure enough, it was a download page for Suicidemouse.exe. Naturally, I downloaded it, scanned it for viruses, and then started playing. When you first open the exe, you are greeted by that picture from Suicide Mouse's Creepypasta wiki page, with a progress bar superimposed over it. The graphics are incredibly low-res, and they're also monochrome. When you start playing, the familiar Suicide Mouse tune starts playing, and you're in control of Mickey. Immediately to your right is a door. You can enter by pressing space. However, if you enter the door, the music stops, you're greeted with a blurry 8-bit head over a black background that covers the gameplay. And after about 2 seconds, it briefly flashes back, and then comes back with the text, "I am dead, you are next," crudely drawn over it. After about a second of that, a much more detailed Mickey appears, moves up and down a couple of times, and then the music starts again, and you're back in control of Mickey. There's a couple of screens of nothing but a background, and then there's a screen with a crane in a brick building, and if you press the spacebar in front of the crane, the game freezes for a second, and then the music changes to that at the end of Suicidemouse. Once that happens, you're greeted with an animation of a low-res Mickey being hung by a chain, followed by the bottom part of his body exploding into a bloody mess. This is where the game starts displaying red in addition to the monochrome graphics. After that, you get the game over screen, which is a bloody "you died" message, apparently from Biohazard on the NES, with the Sonic CD USA game over music. Then you return to the title screen. If you choose to walk past the crane and enter the brick building, the same thing happens as with the first door, but with a different message. The next screen has more doors and different messages. Finally, you get something different on the next screen. There's a hole in the ground which you can press the spacebar to enter. You see Mickey falling down a lazy gradient, and then he hits the floor off of a new area. Apparently supposed to be hell, with some fire off to the left, which you die if you touch, and a door to the left. Then the music also changes here, and the subliminal messages of the street part are replaced by much more disturbing images, accompanied by a gong sound. There's also occasionally the ambient sounds of a man moaning in pain, taken directly from the original Suicidemouse. After that screen, there's a pit covered in fire, which you can jump over. The next screen is a hole in the floor, which I jumped into out of curiosity. Bad move. After Mickey falls past another lazy gradient, he ends up in a pit, with no exit whatsoever. There was no music at this point, and after about 5 seconds in the pit, an entirely black Mickey appears, with a heartbeat sound, but then immediately it faded out. He showed up again in about 5 seconds, and then faded out again. He kept appearing more and more frequently, and then there was a pause. After that, there was a loud scream, over about 10 different screamers crammed into one screen. Then Mickey exploded into a bloody mess, and the background music changed into a gruesome image of several distorted faces, recolored completely red. I rage quit after that happened, due to me nearly having a heart attack. There's probably more to this game, but after that, I don't care enough to find out what it is. And those were 2 creepypastas. Now I'm really here for the first one, Suicidemouse.avi, and figured I might cover the game one as well in this video. But really, what do I think about Suicidemouse.avi, the alleged forefather of the Lost Episode Creepypastas genre? It's okay, I guess. In my eyes, the best one in the genre to this day, and one of the best creepypastas in my opinion, is Squidward's Suicide, due to its build-up, length, detail, and just the fact that it felt like something that could honestly happen, and it really sucked you into the tale as you kept on reading it. Suicidemouse, not so much. I myself don't see all the hype around this. It's really just about 9 minutes of walking with video distortions and graphic imagery, which also happened in Squidward's Suicide, but there was some plotline involved there, and Squidward, well, you know, it's Squidward and his troubles, but here Mickey just walks and walks as the music gets more and more distorted, eventually to the last 30 mystery seconds, where I assume it shows disturbing imagery of hell as mentioned in the final frame with the Russian text. These last 30 seconds supposedly caused the viewer to commit suicide. A tape that causes its viewers to commit suicide? You know what? That kind of makes sense. So, since throughout the 9 minutes, disturbing artwork of hell could be inserted subliminally, keeping the viewer interested until the last 30 seconds, until the viewer decides to off themselves. Could very well be a possibility. Now that being said, I think this is an okay creepypasta, but I can't help but keep on comparing it to Squidward's Suicide. I know, constantly, and I guess my biggest complaint is just the realism aspect. I know creepypastas aren't realistic, but what made Squidward's Suicide so good was the fact that it felt like it could have actually happened. As you read it, you feel what happened in that editing room could have been true, a dark secret within Nickelodeon Studios. Here, it has that same feel, but what really kills it is the corporate suicides and the firing. See, if someone kills themselves in your offices, I guess if you were big enough, you could cover it, but it'd be pretty damn hard. And with the numerous firings, you think someone could tell someone on the outside or release it through the use of physical media such as discs or flash drives. Even if they were fired, all they have to do is keep the file long enough theoretically to upload it to any file sharing site. And the sheer fact that it wasn't even done, and even though it was attempted by many individuals, seems very sketchy. I guess if the stuff was erased or rewritten so that it could have been easier to swallow, it would have been a lot nicer and definitely would have made this a better creepypasta in my opinion. And I guess that also sort of proves that not everyone does commit suicide by watching this video as well. Maybe it affects certain people only. A possible weapon by Disney perhaps? Footage of this supposedly exists on YouTube, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Watch it at your own risk. Who knows what might happen. And that's really what I think about this creepypasta. It's alright, but it's definitely not as good in my opinion as some others in the genre like Squidward Suicide, or I guess even Dead Bart. Now the game version creepypasta was really nothing special, not much to talk about. It was fairly short, and it really didn't feel all that special. It had some added sections to the original creepypasta, and it was filled with the usual screaming and bloodfest, but instead it's also a real game somewhat, and has a download which I have downloaded to my computer, but have not played yet, and I'll also leave that in the description as well for those wanting to play the game. Download at your own risk. But that's really it. That's the Suicidemouse creepypasta saga. It was requested quite a lot, and honestly, it's alright. It's nothing special, but it's not awful. I wish it were just a little more believable, and took some more time to develop and build up. But for what it is, it's not awful. It's alright. What would you rate these creepypastas, and what would you change to make them better? This has been another episode of Creepypastas and Haunted Gaming. And if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.